Hi there, my name's Danny Marzel. I'm a math and computer science teacher here at the high school. The classes I have are Algebra 1, AP Computer Science A, Game Design, Mobile App Development, the HTML and JavaScript programming class. This year, in lieu of a study hall, I'm also taking the Database Fundamentals class. So I helped build that a few years ago, and we weren't going to be able to run it this year due to staffing, not having enough teachers, and I figured there's an online program that can do it, so we'll get into that. Other things I do at the school is I'm a tennis coach for both the boys and girls teams. In the past, probably not this year, but in the past I've run a kind of gaming club where it's really just a social opportunity after school for people to bring in their devices and do what they would do at home except for around other people. So something I would have liked in high school, I decided to make it a thing. And this year I have another club idea, but that only applies to those of you in AP Computer Science A. So I'll talk about that when I talk about that class. So you can scroll ahead until you see your class name. I'll only be talking about your class during that slide. But here we go. AP Computer Science A. So this is my first year teaching the course, and that's part of why I wanted to have, if you see there, AP CSA Success Club. So this is a red block class, and it's a year-long class. So as an AP class, the intent is to eventually take the AP Computer Science A test to get college credit. So this is a great class, a challenging class. This year, we're changing it up a little bit. I'm going to use an online, you're going to see this a lot if you're in more than one of my classes, but an online tool called Replit. So really, if you just go to your search bar and type in repl.it, it's going to open up. It's kind of like a development environment, but in a browser. And so we're going to be using Chromebooks for everything this year. In the event we go home, having Replit set up as our primary tool that we're comfortable with will make that transition as smooth as possible. So although it doesn't offer all of the same benefits as Dr. Java or Oracle or other things people use for Java programming, it's going to be good for this year. So in the event anything goes awry, Replit is going to be our best tool, so we're going to start using it right away. It's that APCSA Success Club. This is me trying to do as best as I can, taking over this AP class for the first time. So I know the material. I just haven't worked through the resources or actually taught the class before. So I'd like to give outside of class opportunities to spend more time covering the material and try and give all of the people in that class the best chance possible at passing the AP test. So no one has to take advantage of it. Hopefully people do. Everyone in that class, it looks like, is a junior or a senior, so hopefully people have cars and it's not too hard to get to and from. I'd like to make that a valuable part of this year as long as we're able to do it. So that's AP Computer Science A. A lot of the focus is going to be on object-oriented programming and some of the little nuances of Java and some other programming ideas like sorting algorithms, just a wide variety of things that cover the computer science field. Database management. So this is the class that's kind of going to be like a seminar class almost at your own pace. Use an online tool. So this is Blue Block. I'm not going to have a syllabus uploaded for this class because I'm not going to have any of my own materials for it. It is a semester-long class, and the Gmetrics program that students will use, it's an online instructional tool, and the whole point is for students to end up being able to take a Microsoft Technology Associate certification exam. So by the end of the Gmetric course, that's exactly what it's preparing them for, and we'll give them little tests along the way that have exactly those kinds of questions. So I looked into the course a little ways, and it's pretty good. It covers a lot of the material, and it covers it in a way that, from my perspective, seems really good for students. So if you're in that course, expect me to be a resource. Expect me to, oh look, my camera's a little bit over it. Expect me to get you set up on Gmetrics and then do what I can to make sure you understand what's in the class. I'm not just going to shove you off and say, hey, get through this course. Just like if it were a study hall, I offer up to the kids in my study hall. If they need help with math, I'm more than happy to help with math. So if you're in this database management class using Gmetrics, I'm not going to be leading all the lessons. That's going to be Gmetrics' job. But if there's anything you struggle with, of course, I'm going to be there to help and try and put things into a easier to understand I don't know, just explanations, metaphors, whatever you guys need in that class. I'll just try and be as supportive as possible without actually feeding you the material. So next class, mobile app development. That's going to be my orange block class, and that's just first semester. This is the first year mobile app development is running. In the past, we had a class called game and app development, game and app design, but there was no app development in the course. It was just part of the name. So this is brand new, completely independent content, completely unique. We're going to use Android Studio. And so this is the only class this year that I'm actually going to be using the school laptops from our laptop carts. And that's because we need Android Studio. Replit doesn't have a replacement for that. So we're going to be using physical Android devices to bug fix stuff and test stuff. The school computers are going to have Android Studio on them that let us communicate with those physical devices. And we're going to learn a little bit of Java in the class because Java is the language that's most commonly used with Android. There's other languages you can use too, but I figure since AP Computer Science A uses Java, we'll have a little bit of consistency across the courses. And the other thing that's cool is we're going to integrate databases in the class too. So SQLite, which is something we'd pick up in the database fundamentals class, SQL Server has the same language. So the language that kids would learn in the database fundamentals class is the same language we'll use for databases in this class. So nice little crossover and seeing how that database information can actually be applied. So depending on the order you take classes, this might be a really cool application of something you already know. All right, moving on. Algebra 1. That's going to be my purple block, and that's a year-long class. The book we use is Big Ideas. And the Big Ideas is aligned to Common Core. The way I'm going to approach the class this year, again, kind of with that idea in mind that we might have to do digital, is a semi-flipped classroom. So the goal here is to try and make assignments something we do in class after we've gotten opportunities to practice and gotten opportunities to ask questions. The actual homework, the things students do at home, should be like a 15 to 20 minute video at night. And that's just introducing the next day's lesson. So really it's just this rearranging of the order we do things, just to get used to having those videos. We're going to have just as many opportunities in class to practice stuff. It's just introducing the concepts the night before. So hopefully students can come in with questions and they can rewatch the video if something didn't quite make sense. And it might mean we start off on a better foot in class and are able to do some higher level stuff during the class period. We just start learning a new lesson. So that's the purpose for the semi-flipped classroom. It'll work well. It's going to be the same exact content I was teaching in the past, just supported in a different way. So the same kinds of videos that students would see if we were digital are instead just going to be their introduction to a new unit or a new lesson. And then in class, we'll answer any questions and hopefully have more time to practice than normal. So the way Algebra 1 works at the high school here is we really break it down into 3 areas: linear, exponential, and quadratic. And so that's a pretty typical Algebra 1 kind of feel. Linear is a lot of equation solving and then getting into graphing lines and eventually having 2 equations in the same problem that help solve each other. Exponential is kind of like that bank account interest growing sort of graph. We'll start talking about exponents more, part of the name exponential in there during that unit. And then quadratics are when we have x squared in our equations. That's like a U-shaped parabola. If you're familiar with that, I'm sure you've seen those in 8th grade. So that's kind of the breakdown of Algebra 1, is those 3 major areas. The game design course, that's going to be my silver block. That is a semester class. It runs both semesters, so you could be in first or second. We're also going to use Replit for that class. In the past, we used something called Monogame, which had a lot of stuff done for us. It was by no means a big, like well-rounded, like a Unity or something, if you know anything about the different engines. But we had to take even a step back from the Monogame. Again, that's because of the potential for going digital. So instead, we're going to use Replit for this class as well. And that's going to use JavaScript to make browser games. Now, what's cool about the new way this is set up with JavaScript is once you have your project made, you can save it to Replit. It'll be stored there. And at some point, if you want to download it to an HTML file and different JavaScript files, that's fine too. But it'll be easier for you to save and show other people your project after we've made them with JavaScript than it was in the past with MonoGame. So that's actually something kind of nice about what we're doing. It's going to be a little bit higher level. It's going to take a little bit more upfront work, but we'll be able to get the same things done I've gotten done in the past with other classes. So this is a challenging class. We have some physics concepts like trying to introduce gravity. Now imagine making gravity exist just using variables. The computer doesn't know what gravity is, so we kind of have to teach it. So there's going to be some physics concepts. We're not going to go very deep into that, just understanding some of the equations and relationships, but then some high-level programming concepts too. So a lot of object-oriented stuff. And that kind of leads into this last bullet. Just a little bit of background. Game design is actually a great follow-up to AP Computer Science A because you'll be applying a lot of those concepts. And it's also an amazing class to introduce some of those concepts, because this class is kind of scaled towards where the students are at. You can make a big grand project and it'll be easier to do if you have that CSA background. But if you don't, you'll start to learn that kind of information. And if you do take AP Computer Science A, you'll have that background already and you won't be racking your brain as much in that class. So they kind of feed off of each other. This class, you get more out of it if you've taken CSA. But if you take this class before CSA, you get more out of the CSA class. They're a nice little hand in hand, the way we kind of do our material and our projects towards the end of the class. And the last thing here, HTML and JavaScript. This is my orange block. It's only a second semester class this year. And again, it's going to be using Replit, and we'll be using HTML and CSS for formatting web pages. It's a lot of introductory stuff. JavaScript is when we're going to add functionality to web pages, and that's when we really start learning some programming concepts. HTML and CSS are really just about formatting. There's tags, there's text instructions we use that kind of mimic everything under the sun that you could find in like a Microsoft Word text editor. It's just we have to use text to tell it to do that. So instead of having a B button to bold something, I write the word bold in 2 little carets, type some text, and then write the word bold after it to shut it off. And whatever's in between the carets turns into bold text. So it's a really great class for anyone who hasn't programmed before, just to get their feet wet. You get some creativity. The projects are pretty open-ended, and students like to pretty things up a lot. It's a really fun class. And when we get into the JavaScript, there's some pretty cool stuff we can do with that. We'll do some silly things to introduce ideas, like in the last couple of years when I've done classes, I've done like a what kind of Minecraft player are you? By popular request, that was our quiz. We have a unit where we start with like a BuzzFeed quiz to start getting used to check boxes and text fields and that sort of thing. So it's a really fun class, and it's an amazing introduction to computer science as a whole subject area. So those are all the classes I teach. Take a look over the syllabus if you're in any of those classes, and make sure you have the materials. I'm sure it's going to be a great year. So, don't be too concerned about it. I'm going to do my best, and you all just ask me if you need anything. All right.